Okay, so this is again lesson 1. We're going to start off with the number line because this is how we add and subtract positive and negative numbers. Okay, the center of the number line is 0. The positive numbers are over here, the negative numbers are over there, all right? So whenever you are adding, it doesn't matter what you start with. If you're adding a positive number, no matter where you are on the number line, you're going to go this way. If you're subtracting a positive number, you're going to go that way. So let's look at a couple of examples. So if I had 7 minus 2, I start here at 7, take 2 steps back, and I end up with 5. And let's say I was over here, if I had negative 3 minus 4, if I start here at negative 3, I take 4 steps back, end up at negative 7. Okay? So the key for the adding and subtracting of numbers, this works for decimals and fractions. If you're adding a positive number, you go this way. If you're subtracting one, you go that way.
How do you do fractions?
Fractions the same way. So if I had 1/2 plus 1/4, and we'll get to this a little bit later, we would get a common denominator. So this would be 2/4 plus 3/4, plus 1/4. And again, we start here at 1/2 and move over. So when we make a number line, let me move these out of the way. If this is 1, this is 1/2, this is 1/4, this is 3/4. So if I had 2/4, which we said 1/2 is, plus 1/4, I end up at 3/4. So we just divide it differently. So we can divide the number line, we can have the number line divided into, tenths. 2 tenths. We can have it divided into, hundreds. So it doesn't matter with the number line. We can put any numbers here. If you look at a ruler, you'll see that the part of the ruler is divided into 16ths, 1/16, 2/16, 3/16. So it doesn't matter what we do our divisions. Just remember that wherever you start, you're going to go in one direction. If you're adding in the other direction, if you are subtracting. Okay, now there are a couple of things that sometimes confuse us. That's when we are adding a negative or subtracting a negative. So those are sometimes confusing. So let's look at those cases. So if we had 5 plus negative 3, okay, when you're adding a negative, that is the same as subtracting. Okay. And once we get it in this form, then we know we have to go that way. Also, if we had 8 minus negative 2, that's the same as 8 plus a positive 2. So now we're just adding, going this way. So if you're adding a negative or subtracting a negative, you simplify it first. Then you can say, I'm going this way or that way. Okay? And this works no matter how big the number is, how small the number is. If you're ever adding a number, let's say 0, let's say you had like negative 312 plus 14. If you heard negative 312, you got to go 14 steps this way. And remember, these numbers decrease till they get to 0, then they go back up. So you would go this way by 14. Okay? And the number line is easy to remember because sometimes they'll tell you to think about if you're digging a hole or think about money or anything, because all that stuff is confusing. The number line is always the same. So if you go with the number line, then you can always remember which way you're supposed to go.